Hi, my name is Terry Yelton, and I will be the teacher for this course, CL 4525, the online version of Theological Leadership in Addressing Change and Conflict. I'm going to go over the syllabus, so if you don't have a copy of that, I encourage you to stop the video and go get a copy and come back. A couple things about this course to kind of get you started. The whole goal of this course is to help you create your own theological framework for addressing organizational change and conflict, primarily through congregations or a nonprofit that is a site that you can imagine yourself working in the future. We're going to look at biblical, theological, and theoretical resources to do that, and you're going to use an actual case, something that you've experienced or are experiencing right now to do that. You are going to be in precepts, and so this is a self-led course. I figure if you're in a leadership course and you can't lead, that's probably a problem. No, what I have done is created a rubric or a set of questions for each precept that you will walk through. You will take turns figuring out who will lead each time. If your group, for example, is 4 people and there are 8 sessions, each of you will lead twice, and you can navigate how to do that. So we will get a little bit more into that, but I first want to highlight a couple logistics. You will each do a book review. There's a Google Doc of all the sheets that are listed in here. If you have not signed up for that, please go to the course page, hit the link to the Google Doc, and see the ones that aren't already chosen and pick that. When you do that book review, please note it's a video. So you will have to put a link into that so I can have access to that. And you will put that both in the assignment for me to grade, as well as to put that in your precepts so your other people in your group can look at that. So 2 places to post your book review. If you have any questions on that, please feel free to email me and ask a question sooner than later, because you have a few weeks before that's due, but I want to give you a chance to figure out what you need to do with that. So 20% of your grade is the book review that I just talked about. The other 80% is divided between 2 places. One is precept participation. So each week, you will participate in the precept, and somebody will write up a description on what you did. It's just a 1-page summary, and if you look and see the 4 questions or the 4 areas that you will cover, please include that in there. Also write who was in attendance, so I'll know who was there each time. So you should show up and share the leadership of that precept. So that's 40% of your grade. The other 40% is your project. And this contextual project has 4 parts to it. Those are outlined on page 4 of your syllabus, but I'm going to just say brief description on each. A description of an adaptive challenge that is being addressed on some kind of change or conflict. So that part of the paper is 2 to 3 pages. It should describe the context and give some key details that are important, like if there's a pastor leaving, is there any circumstances that are important with regard to that? Is there a time frame that's involved? Those kind of things. Describe the ministry. Is it a congregation? Is it a multi-staff congregation? What kind of setting is it in? Anything that's important for that. And then identify some key questions or concerns that fit with regard to that. Again, imagine if you're talking this to me and say, what are the things that I need to know to put a context around that? You will get a chance to do that with your partners in your small group. So just take a note of the things that are important for them. So description of the case and the adaptive challenge that you're facing in this project. Second is, I want you to provide a theoretical and a theological lens. For the theological, you should draw on various biblical and theological concepts and resources, and those should be cited. This is your Theology of Change that would go with this change case that you're looking at. That should be 3 to 5 pages in length, and it should have 3 to 4 core theological ideas. So you could say there's forgiveness that's needed, and you talk about that, or reconciliation of some kind. You could say this is about empowering people in the priesthood of all believers, and a kind of a gifts idea, of a gifts mentality. Those are examples of some ideas that can go from there. There are places in each of the precepts that you get some ideas around that. Some of the readings that you will do will have some ideas. So draw on the things from this course and from the conversations with your other leaders in your precept. The theoretical lens, again, you have resources from this class to draw upon to help you think about a theoretical framework to look at this change. So, for example, you may use life cycle theory and say, this is a startup that is having growth problems, or this is a congregation that has gone over the kind of primary and it's starting to die, and if it doesn't reinvent itself in some way, it will continue to decline. So that would be using one particular theory to help understand what's going on. There can be some things around conflict. There's different types of conflict you're going to read about. Maybe there's something from that goes with it. And then the last section is what are the steps for moving forward? So based on those, what's the challenge and description based on the theoretical and theological places? What are some action steps that would be there to address that? And for you as a leader, what are some things that would be important for you leading through that? Please draw on the course materials. You will be had points taken off for that, for not having those. This is the place to prove to me, to integrate to me that you're taking in the learnings from this course. There will be a rubric that's posted in the course that will say how the points will be divvied up for each of the sections, and that's part of what it is. Also, please use footnotes, both for videos, for any videos that I do, or videos that you watch, the TED Eds that are a part of this, and yeah, make sure that those are cited correctly, or from the books or the book reviews that you do. So that's the other 40% of your grade. Now let me just take a couple minutes and walk through each of the weeks. So you will meet weekly, either in person or online using Zoom. And there are four areas that you will cover. There's an area to think of change personally, theologically, theoretically, and contextually. So for example, the first week, you will be getting yourself grounded in what is it to be a reflective leader. There's a book, chapter from a book, The Introduction, on how the way we talk can change the way we work. There's some reading from Acts 1 and 2. There's a John Cotter TED Ed on creating urgency. And then there's this video to help you think through how to do your case study. In the small group, there's prompts for each of those. So introduce yourself in the class, talk about your attitude about leading change and conflict. What do you come into this course ready for? Out of Acts, what are the things that from the early church that help you think about change and conflict? What's one learning you had from the TED Ed, and what are you thinking about for your case study? So that's an example of how to walk through each of those. So the first one is you as a leader. The second one is expanding your horizon. So starting to think, what else has changed? Starting to think of change as a multifaceted thing, not just a simple kind of cut and dry linear way of looking at things. Looking at what motivates us for change. It may be different than you think. And then I want you to contextually ask some other people, get the wisdom about from people in your case study about where they think God has been present or is present if it's a current thing. So those are examples of week 2. Week 3 is to think of the congregations as a system, as a complex system. So personally, you're going to look at Failure of Nerve by Edwin Friedman. You're going to look at some different stories in the Bible. You're going to look at a unit that looks at complexity and systems online. And then you're going to dig deeper into your case study by looking historically, reminding us that this is maybe not the first time that congregations or nonprofits have patterns, and what insights does history give you. Note your book reviews are due that week, and so that the following week you can do the videos for that. So week 4, deepening your understanding. This is a chance for you personally is to just spend some personal time reflecting. How's that? 30 minutes to have you sit through and think about who you are as a leader of change and how that might especially play into this one. Your theory for this section is to look at the videos from the book reviews of just the people in your group. So that will be 2 or 3 or maybe 4 at the most other videos. They're short, but that will prompt you to say, what do you want to learn more about? So when you're in precept, you can ask questions. And then contextually, what are the assets? What are the particular gifts or skills that would shed light on your case from people that you know? Week 5, we look at conflict. Conflict is a big thing, and to learn to do that well is really important. Personally, you get to look at your own style of conflict, looking at Miroslav Volf on reconciliation and otherness as a theological lens. There's a unit on conflict, and then I want you to talk to some other ministry leaders about a time that they were facing conflict and any wisdom that they can give you. Week 6, navigating difference. This is a chance for you to reflect on your IDI. Some of you might be taking that right now. Some of you, it may be a while back. So go back to your IDI. Think about how that can help you think about how would that play into this particular case that you're at. I want you to dwell in Acts chapter 8 just personally and reflect on that and what it teaches you about welcoming difference, and then bring that into your discussion. There's a great chapter from Cultural Intelligence, Leading with Cultural Intelligence, that I want you to read. And then observe how the ministry site engages difference, or if you can't see it particularly, reflect back and note what are the practices and language that they use that might give some insight. Week 7, innovation, experimenting, and kind of keeping an eye to the future. We're going to read a chapter from Dwight Shiley's Agile Church. Going to reflect on a time when you did something new and what that was like. You're going to read a chapter from the book that Chaim Herring and I wrote on leading congregations and nonprofits in a connected world. And I want you to interview 3 people from different generations and think about how their picture of the future looks like from where they're located. Then we'll have a break that will bring us to Easter and the break that we have here at Luther. And then you're going to come together for just a short time and begin to pull it all back together. And this is a chance for you to kind of get your draft ready. Hopefully you've been working on this as you go, but this last one is reflect on this semester and your own learning. Where are you as a leader of change and conflict? Thinking theologically, what are some theological concepts that are core to this, that are core for change and conflict, and then which of them apply to this case? What are some theories as you think back of all the ones that are most meaningful for you, and how might they relate to this case? And then recognize the particular nature of change. Now that you've had a chance to look at change from many angles, what particular insights have you learned from this case, and how might that play out? The last week, I'm going to join you in your sessions, and you're going to go over your projects and get a chance to share them with each other. And then the finals are due to me, posted by the 22nd, unless you're a senior. And then those will be due on the 15th. So you will get to present first, then the seniors will have it due, and then the others will have a week later after that. I look forward to journeying with you. I will be responding to each of those posts that you do weekly, either individually if there's something specific I want to say, or a general one about what are things that are happening as a whole, if that's most appropriate. But each week you'll hear from me. And if you have questions in between, please, please, please email me. Don't let it go on too long. I look forward to journeying this semester with you. Thanks.